Look, I want to get to the thinking behind this decision in a little bit, but first, so many questions from viewers this morning, as you can imagine. Lots of people wondering how it's going to work, when they can access the permits, how long this border is going to be in place. What have you got for them this morning?
Well, look, we're hoping through Service New South Wales the permit system may be up and running today. I know we've had people working all through the night to make that possible, and we always knew that once we made the announcement, the first 2 or 3 days would be extremely difficult for those border communities, which is why the decision wasn't taken lightly. As you and your viewers know, there are around 55 border crossings. It's the busiest border in all of Australia, and certainly we appreciate those challenges. And I just want to thank everybody in advance for their patience. There will be queues, there will be frustration, there will be lots of questions, but we're doing this to keep everybody safe and to also make sure the Victorian Government has the resources it needs to focus on containing the spread, and that's why we're making sure that all of our resources in New South Wales will be dedicated to this border protection and taking the heat off some of those health officials and authorities on the other side of the border.
So that hard border comes into place at midnight, but you're saying the permits mightn't be ready to go by then?
Well, we'd always said that. I hope they will be. I genuinely hope they will be, and there's every chance they will be. Our people are working through, they worked through yesterday and today, and we hope that's definitely the case. And it's a service we're also providing Victorians, obviously. So you go to Service New South Wales, irrespective of which side of the border you're on, to grant an exemption and to make sure you keep safe. But no matter where you live and what you're doing, if you have the mildest symptoms, please come forward and get tested. That's the strongest bit of advice we need to give everybody. And whilst I know that people are thinking about where they want to base themselves for the next little while, because none of us know how long the border closure will last. So I know that many families yesterday and today will have had those conversations about where to live and where to base themselves for the next little while, and I appreciate some of those will be very difficult conversations, but the community is there to support you, the government is there to support you, and I want to thank everybody involved in the process to date. But it will be frustrating for the next 2 or 3 days.
Look, I know you've been working on the models for something like this happening, so to manage people's expectations, what is the worst case scenario for how long this border could be closed? You must have a time frame in mind.
No, we don't actually. What we look at is that what's happening in Melbourne and its surrounds is unprecedented in Australia, because until this point in time, until this latest outbreak, the vast majority of cases around Australia, including New South Wales, even when we were getting more than 200 cases a day, the vast majority of those cases were from overseas travellers or their direct contacts. And now what we're seeing in Melbourne is that the vast majority of new cases are from community transmission, and that's a concern, because once it spreads in the community, it's more difficult to control, and that was the trigger for us closing the border. So when we see evidence that the community transmission is suppressed, that the spread is stopping, that's when we can consider reopening the border, and we don't know when that will be, and that's why we've been monitoring the situation in New South Wales very closely for the last fortnight. We've been making sure we have daily health advice. The experts have been, as usual, briefing us to the best of their ability and been doing an outstanding job. And yesterday morning, when the advice I received from them was that the border should be shut, I didn't hesitate, because I anticipated this could be the case. We've been looking at it for a period of time, and the fact that community transmission is where it is has made us make this difficult decision. It
is difficult, I grant you that. The Australian Industry Group this morning has said it's a Berlin Wall, and it is going to set back any hopes or prospects of trying to open up the Australian economy. What do you say to them?
Look, I say to them, fair enough, but consider this. What if New South Wales then had to shut down as well? Then where would the economy be? Yes, Victoria is the second largest economy, but this is about not just protecting the health and safety of our communities across the states and across the broader nation, but also making sure we are keeping those jobs going and the economy going. The last thing you'd want to see is the 2 largest states have to shut down their activity, and that's a risk that was posed to New South Wales had we not taken this action. And that's why I say to all business groups who might be concerned, yes, it is concerning about what's happening in Victoria. Yes, it's going to thwart our ability to grow the economy and to try and get back some of those jobs that have been lost. But imagine what could happen if we hadn't taken this action and New South Wales went down the same path. It would be an extremely difficult position for our nation because all the other states rely on New South Wales and Victoria to support them.
The AMA President Tony Bartoni yesterday called for a pause in the easing of restrictions right across Australia. Do you think he's got a point?
Well, every state is at a different stage, and I don't think you can make general statements without considering where each state is up to. Certainly, when you close a border, as we've done in New South Wales, and you contain the spread, well, obviously, there's no evidence to suggest, in fact, overnight there was no additional community transmission cases confirmed, which is a positive thing for New South Wales. The only cases that we did have overnight that were confirmed are from overseas travellers. So we want to keep it that way as much as possible. Our aim in New South Wales isn't to have 0 cases because that would be extremely unlikely given the size of our population. So it's important to manage expectations. We are going to have cases. We are going to have cases in the community. But what we need to do is make sure we can manage them. And unfortunately in Victoria, the number of cases are getting to a number where they really need to be in a position where they're clamping down on it. Otherwise, it could be a case of the virus getting too much out of control and the community spread not being able to be managed.